Pastor Bryan Robbins is a gospel man. Robbins came to Western North Carolina from Tampa, Florida. His parents started going to a Baptist church when he was 15, 5 years after he moved to Asheville. In Asheville, he became a Christian, but within a year of his conversion, his parents and church had split. Robbins spent the next 5 years without pursuing growth in his new faith.
In 2001, Robbins followed his wife Christina back into church. They became active and grew at New Life Community Church in Asheville. From there, Robbins began his first ministry. Missio Dei Church was started in 2007. It was a joint project between Robbins and Kurt Hanna. The two met at a conference in Atlanta, they exchanged visions, and realized that their plans were compatible. His original ministry gained new life at Missio Dei. The leap of faith was beautifully rewarded. To Bryan, combining his and Hannah's ministries was an act of submission to God's authority. Moving to Asheville at age 10 was Robbins' first big change. His family had been pretty stationary, so this 700-mile move from Florida was difficult. He left a childhood best friend and became the chubby kid with a bowl cut in a new town. Robbins is happy with his past. It prepared Robbins to be where he is now. Robbins describes Missio Dei as a missional church. He says it is a church where people see themselves as missionaries. They gather to equip each other, to worship together, and get fueled for service. Then they go back out into the world to share the gospel. Rather than having endless programs to draw people in, Missio Dei Church sends people out to build relationships and share the gospel. According to Robbins, they are joining God on his mission to seek and save those who are far from him. Robbins sees problems not just in the secular world, but in the church itself. Apathy and a lack of caring about the rest of the world plague the church. Robbins says that American Christians have become dangerously lazy and generally aren't excited about the gospel. He has faith that this will change, that God in his mercy will break the American church and motivate them to pursue the gospel. He believes that, since God is in control of his life, all of his experiences are valuable. He is humbled by his life experience. He is thankful for and loves where God has put him. Robbins wouldn't change anything about his life. Every triumph and every failure has taught him something about God, the gospel, and himself. He believes that he is exceedingly blessed. So, what is the gospel?
I would say the gospel is that God created the world. He created everything from nothing. There was once a time where there was goodness and perfection and harmony and beauty. Everything sort of was as it was supposed to be. And our first parents, Adam and Eve, chose to, rather than being subject to God as his beloved creation, to be gods to themselves. So they rebelled against God. You know the story, ate the fruit and all that. They rebelled against God, and because God is holy and just and cannot tolerate sin, he had to judge that. And so God placed his judgment upon Adam and Eve. That sin we all inherited, so that each of us from that point forward, all the beauty and perfection and harmony in creation was broken and fractured. Not just people, but everything in the world. So now there's death and disease and injustice and poverty and all these things that aren't as they're supposed to be. And God judged the world. But even in that moment, God made a promise that one day he would fix it all, that he would restore shalom, that he would right all the wrongs. And so his promise was to send his son, to send Christ into the world. Christ comes into the world, fully God, fully man. He not only lives the perfect life that none of us can live as our example, fully obedient to God in every way, but then he goes to the cross and he dies in our place as a substitute for our sins, taking the wrath of God fully upon himself for all of our sin and exchanging. Adam and Eve exchanged themselves for God, right? Jesus reverses that substitution, reverses himself for sinners. And so he gets the wrath of God upon himself. We get his righteousness. So that in him, those who believe in him, who place their faith and trust in the finished work of Christ upon the cross, God doesn't see our junk, our sin, our rebellion. He sees the perfect righteousness of Jesus Christ. And so Christ dies, he resurrects, overcoming sin, death, and hell.